Governors are responsible together for a large number of areas within a school. Getting to grips with these responsibilities is an important aspect of a governor's role. But if you're new, where do you start? To help find out, we're going to set 3 new governors from different schools tasks designed to help them get to know their legal responsibilities. They'll be set by governance expert Judy Burgess and will focus on health and safety, special needs and financial responsibilities. At the end of the tasks, the governors will report back and discuss what they have learned. First, Judy finds out what our governors know already.
Today we're going to be looking at getting to know your responsibilities, and that really is your legal responsibilities, and there are many of them. But I just want to know from your perspective what you know already about governing body's legal responsibilities.
You're right, there is obviously a lot, and I've not read through it all yet, but it's obviously a lot to take in there, I think.
I don't know anything about the legal responsibilities. However, I have been given a great big folder that tells me that this is the guide to the law. But as far as it goes, that's it.
I haven't got the time yet to go through those parts because there's a lot to read in there.
Our governors are going to look at 3 legal responsibilities: health and safety, special needs and finance. Each will be given a task to look at one area in detail.
So, Toyin, I've set to you, you're a secondary school governor, and I've set to you the responsibility for special needs. So I'm asking you to find out what it is and how special needs is coordinated in your school and how the governing body gets information. Okay? And Margaret, I'm going to set to you one on health and safety. So again, I want to know what the responsibility is and how the governing body gets the information, how it relates to the governing body's work. Mark, I'm going to set you the task of finance. So what is it? What's the governing body's responsibility? And how do the governing governors know about it, the finance of the school? Okay, so I wish you all the best on your tasks. Off you go into your schools. And we look forward to seeing you later on when we come back together to see how you've got on.
Okay.
The governors have all decided to use the Guide to the Law, the legal handbook published by the DFES and normally supplied to all governors. So what's Margaret found out about health and safety?
It would seem that the governing body is responsible for the health and safety of almost everything that goes on in the school, but as advised by the teaching staff, the head teacher particularly, if there's particular problems. But there's a lot of health and safety. I should imagine the best course of action would be to find a specific thing and talk to the chair of governors and see if there is anything particular that we can look at.
Margaret discovers there is a problem with a fence at her special school in Bristol and has decided to find out more from the deputy head and chair of governors.
We've got.
Right.
Basically, these have come undone.
Yeah.
And the wire's dropping off.
Okay. So what's the risk with it as it is?
No matter how many clips the caretaker puts back in,
They take them off.
it just gets pulled off. The children run into it, bounce off it.
Can you not decide just to take it down yourselves?
I mean, I could instruct the caretaker to take it down, but I mean, I think it's something I'd rather discuss with the senior management. Plus, actually, the staff are on duty, and also the children actually use the playground.
And how would that come into us as governors?
Because there is a health and safety issue over the fence. Richard has reported it to the Health and Safety Committee, so that the governors are aware of the situation, not to do anything about it at this particular time, but to discuss various ways.
All the
because the
solutions.
governors have the ultimate responsibility for the health and safety of the children in the school.
And so that would come down to us as a governing body.
And as governors, we have to assess all these risks.
All the risks.
But the first one, obviously, is that it's not life-threatening, so nothing has to be done today.
No, it's a decision to be made over a period of time.
While Margaret learns more about the fence, Toyin's been joined by fellow new governor Deborah to find out about special needs in their inner-city secondary school in London. After looking online at the special needs chapter in the Guide to the Law, they've decided to visit their school and begin by meeting the head of inclusion, Helen Webb.
So being a new governor, what are the responsibilities of governors with regards to your aspect of special needs students?
Okay. We have a governor who's specially allocated to the Special Educational Needs Department, who comes and visits us once a term at least and reports back to the governors. So you would get feedback from all of us via that governor. But we do welcome any visits and any interest that's shown. So if ever you wanted to come and pay us a visit and you had any concerns, then we'd be very welcoming to you up in learning support.
You have ethnic groups which English are not their first languages. Does that reflect in their special need, their educational special need?
It depends on how well they cope with English as well as Yoruba or whatever language it is that they speak at home. And we have a lot of children who manage to get their 5 A-star to C GCSEs, like they're expected to do. But we also have a number of children who struggle and who need extra support, so it depends on the individual child.
Toyin and Deborah want to know more about the assessment of special needs students, so they've arranged to meet the school's special needs coordinator, Linda Chung.
Yeah, if the child comes to you with the parents, you have a sort of assessment level that you have to do before you're able to take it from there.
Oh yes, when you have a child, you have to assess them automatically. We tend to have a liaison with primary schools, and if we know that the child has difficulty, we have, prior to the child coming to school, we contact the school ourselves and we have liaison with them.
I know you have an SEN governor. How do you get reported to and fro to the governor?
We see the governor maybe once a term. We have allocated person, the SEN governors, who come and have a little chat with all the staff here in different corners, and then go and visit and look at pupils' work as well and discuss with the children.
While Toyin learns more, how's our third governor getting on? Mark's delving into the Guide to the Law to look at finance.
The one bit I did notice was about how the school makes sure it's getting best value for its investments. That's something I think I need to look into a bit further and perhaps find out something that the school has spent some money on recently and understand how I can actually understand how best value is actually obtained from that investment.
Mark's hoping to find the information he needs from the school's chair of governors and head teacher.
How we do it in school is determined in our finance policy about when we buy things. Depending on the value of what we're buying, we either get 2 quotes or we have to have a formal tender or something like that. And those are agreed limits that we set ourselves for determining best value.
Is this something the school's bought recently we could have a look at and I could have a...
Well, yes, we've just bought some whiteboards for the classroom. So, Caroline, maybe you'd like to talk about that.
Yes, we just bought 2 new interactive whiteboards, and we were really lucky this time round because we were able to go to the local education authority and they'd already done a best value search and were able to recommend a certain company. But of course the most important aspect of best value is how it impacts on children's learning. And maybe you'd like to come along and see them in action.
To see a purchase in action, Mark's visiting Alan Luxton's Year 4 classroom.
Do you think there's something up on here that might eat small part seeds of a plant? Well done. Hold on,
I find it really interesting and really brings the teaching to life. Well, I guess without them using the blackboard or just use a textbook, and with the kids being able to actually interact with it, must make the learning a lot more interesting. Probably need to have a chat with Alan to find out how it's changed the way he teaches.
They're very useful in being able to create things on the spur of the moment from discussions, but then return to something that's saved and get the discussion back to the way that you want it to go. And the children really seem to enjoy the physical nature of it, dragging things around and coming and having a write on it. It certainly saves time, and the children are benefiting because they're getting more to do.
So do you think this has been a good investment?
I think overall it has been a good investment. I'm aware of the cost involved in it, but I think once they're installed, the benefit for the rest of this term is going to be great.
After completing their tasks, the governors report back to Judy. They start by talking about the usefulness of the Guide to the Law.
Yeah, it really is all laid out there. You probably have to take it in bite-sized chunks.
Although it's a huge and hideous-looking document, it really is quite plain when you get to the bit that you need to look at, but don't try and read the whole thing. I think it's just look at it when you need it.
Yeah, just take it a topic at a time.
That has to be focused on a specific subject, whatever.
Good, so the Guide to the Law was a really good starting point. Its contents, it's much fuller at the back to be able to find out what you want. Now I want to come into a bit more detail and see what you did find out about your specific responsibilities. Mark, we said finance, find out. So tell us about your journey then.
The one thing I particularly picked up on was looking at value for money. So I sat down with the chair governors and the head teacher and said, is there an example of something the school's bought recently that I can actually sort of follow the story through really and look at it? And school recently purchased some interactive whiteboards. So that enabled me to go in the classroom and actually see the whiteboards being used to deliver a lesson. So, it really brought it to life, really. What could have been a very dry subject, looking value for money, you're going in, seeing how it's used and talking to people, brings it to life.
So you've picked up how the governing body prioritised that spending and then tracking it through and seeing it in action. I think that would be a really good example for governors to follow. Toyin, we set you the task to do with special educational needs. So tell me what you found out in your school.
I met with a class coordinator who was specific in regards to special educational needs. Being an inner city school, it has a sort of different background of peoples with different sorts of needs. So therefore, special educational needs is one of the aspects in that school to be able to assist pupils for them to be able to meet the basic standard needs.
Well, what you learnt was the special educational needs specific to your school, and that's what it's all about. So do you feel you learnt more about it at the end?
I did, because by the time I came out from there, I've enriched my knowledge in that aspect, and I look forward to be one of those, hopefully, one of the governors in that aspect. That's right, with those committees.
So it's given you a real interest?
It has given me an input to that aspect, yes.
So let's move on now to health and safety, which was yours, Margaret. So tell me what you did in school and how you tracked yours through.
I really didn't see quite how health and safety fitted in. So I went to school and I spoke with the chair of governors and we explored the guide to the law and found out about health and safety. Then I asked if there was a specific thing going on at this time that we could look at and find out about. And it turns out there's a problem with the fence. And the problem is the top wires come loose and the little hooks of wire are now hanging down and the children have a tendency to climb all over it. And it's not a threat to life and limb, but it's obviously something needs to be done about it. All this has to go through the governors. So it was really actually much more interesting than I thought it was, and I don't know what the solution will be.
Again, it's a good example of picking up something in a school rather than just learning the theory. Asking your chair, is there an example? Can we track it through? Can we see how it works? So I think, that was really good. So what do you think you know now about statutory responsibilities that you didn't know before?
I think probably realised there is more than I first thought. I think the natural assumption is that probably the head teacher probably carries more responsibility than the governing body does. But when you actually look at it, there's far more the governing body carries.
I knew that the governing body was responsible for pretty much the whole school, but I didn't realise quite what that meant, or I probably still don't, but I certainly have more idea now.
I think to sum up, if we're trying to give advice to new governors, I would say start with the guide to the law. There's lots of information there you've found. Seeing it at work in your governing body is through committees. So the main governing body will have different committees, probably attached to many of these statutory responsibilities. Remember, it's the corporate governing body that carries the can, it's not you as an individual. So I do hope you enjoy being a new governor and carry on being a new governor, and who knows, sometime you'll be coming back to me and saying, I'm an experienced governor now, I'm not new anymore.
There are 2 other programmes from this series particularly aimed at new governors. You can download them from the Governors portal of the Teachers TV website.